What's going on, YouTube? Welcome to episode 76 of Let's Build the U.S.S. Voyager. I'm Zero Elite, and I just want to thank you very much for tuning in today's episode. If you haven't, please don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button, helping me in supporting the channel. I can't thank you enough for that. Today we've got about a 20-minute episode. We're just going to be cleaning up some loose odds and ends on the final 4 episodes of Voyager Season 1. So there'll be 3 more episodes following this, and that's going to wrap up Voyager. So without further ado, let's kick back, relax, we're going to dive right into this thing. We've been working on Voyager for so long, hard to believe that we're done with it, and we're going to be hopping into the Excelsior class, and whenever we hit 1,000 subscribers, if I'm lucky enough to, we'll be dropping the tutorial on the Enterprise A 2.0. Super excited about that. I've already got the tour episode up for you guys where I get into the beans of it. So if you want to check that out, be sure to go on my YouTube and you'll be able to find that on the recent videos. So basically what we're doing here, I'm just going to be adding another deck. You can see I went down to our main hub that brings us from the shuttle bay deck to the saucer, and we've already got our template in place. You know, this is why I say I can't stress it enough to plot your corridors and plot things in advance, because it makes life so easy. It really does. Since we took the time to actually build out our turbo lifts, we already know where the decks are going to go, you know. I mean, you could do this the other way around, but as somebody who has done it, my original Enterprise that I had made, going all the way back years ago, the 2009 one, that's how I did it. I built the rooms out first, and I went back and I did the corridors, and I hated them, and I went back and I redid them again and again and again, and that's kind of what got this whole channel started, because I was determined to get this thing right. And as I went, I just got better at building, you know, going through trial and error. And this is why I show all of my mistakes, because I mean, it ended up making me the builder that I am now. This is why I try to be supportive and encourage people, you know, to try different things. If it doesn't work, that's okay. You can always make a change to it. You know, use those multiple saves. Take advantage of it. That's what I do anytime I want to brainstorm. But basically what we got going on here, we're going to be adding in a airlock. And I'm trying to figure out where I'm going to add it. I thought about adding it here on this deck, but the problem with that is it's going to go right into the circuitry, and I don't want to mess up that facade. So the original level that I selected, that's what it's going to be. The one and only downside to it, and there's just no way to get around it, is that it's going to be right up on the saucer. I could maybe go a deck down, but I don't know. I think that this should look pretty good, because I mean, Voyager itself for the most part is a pretty tight ship. What I mean by that is it's more compact, and it kind of makes sense to me that we'd have one under here. Now, to my own fault, I did not look at the concept art, or not concept art, but my reference photos of Voyager to figure out where I was actually going to put where it should have gone. I just kind of made a decision, but to be honest, you can totally get away with stuff like this. You can totally do it. Basically what I'm thinking about doing right now, I want to have a 2 wide doorway, so that's going to kind of mess with things, and I want it to be spaced out a little bit from the ceiling. Well, not the ceiling, but the bottom part of the saucer. I think we're end up having to make a staircase to make this match up with that deck, but you know, like, it'll just be like a step or 2 down. That's not necessarily a big deal. Even though we don't see it in Star Trek, the ships have it. If you don't believe me, look up the blueprints on the Enterprise D. Watch some of the tour videos. Enterprise D has lots of stairs. You just never saw them because they had no budget for it. So I really wish that um, they would have held off on the Enterprise G for a while, um, and maybe just brought back the Enterprise D, because I feel like there's a lot that they could have done there that would have been so much more spectacular to me than the Enterprise G, because we have the technology now that you can flesh out the Enterprise D, and we can see all that stuff on screen. And I get why they didn't do it in Picard season 3, because it's only there for a cup of coffee and then it's gone. But it would be cool to see something like that, you know. There's so many cool concepts that they worked up for the Enterprise D, and they never were never able to see it. Like even the primary shuttle bay. I mean, it's only in one episode, if I'm not mistaken. You only see it from like an angle, like you never actually go inside of it and see it. So it'd just be cool to see some of that. Yeah, everything that we're doing now, you know, just all those little details to try to make the ship come to life a little bit more. You know, having in these airlocks, it gives an impression that this is something that people actually live on, and you have to think about those things and what kind of details can you add in to make it feel more like that. And it's like, well, you know, having, you know, airlocks on a starship, it makes sense. So obviously we want to make sure we add those in. I'd say that's more important than some of the hull details. Because one thing to remember with Voyager, and I think this is what messed with people with Picard season 3, because I saw some people saying the Enterprise D was too detailed. I'm like, no, it wasn't. Like the Enterprise D actually looked like that, but when we watched it live in the 90s, you know, we didn't have high resolution TVs back then. That's what it looked like. It looked like, I mean, for us, it looked like it was just a gray ship. Same thing with Voyager and some of the other ones. But then when you actually see the line work in the hull, like it's like, oh wow, that's pretty incredible. Um, but I don't know. With that being said, like I was never a huge fan of the Next Generation era Aztecing. I thought it was cool, but I thought it was a little bit too much. That was always my one and only gripe with the Enterprise D, because I remember when I was a kid and I saw it, like when I first saw it, I wasn't crazy about it, and then over time I fell in love with it. But that's still the one thing that sticks out. I'd have less of the Aztecing. That's just my preference. You look at the Constitution class refit is a great example. Star Trek the Motion Picture specifically, the way that they did the Aztecing on that, um, that's closer what it should be. You don't see it from every angle. You see it depending on the lighting. Will bring it out, and like it just that they did such a beautiful job painting that ship, and it's just a shame that ended up that paint job got painted over one of the sequels, because the studio that did it couldn't. They didn't they didn't know how to film off of a ship that had that much of a detail on it. They were having problems with it, and it's too bad, because if we still had that exact paint job out, maybe, you know, there'd be people that could do a little bit of research into actually reproducing it. I've seen people try, and there are people out there who do really good jobs. So I don't even want to get into that actually, because I don't know for certain that there are people that haven't. There probably are. There's some very talented people out there. But anyway, we're going to shift gears a little bit. We're going to hop into more what we got going on here. You can see I'm just getting some detailing done on the top of the bridge of Voyager. And all I'm doing here is I'm just replacing these half slabs with a gray block, or white concrete block, because I'm just trying to add in just a little bit more color and flair. And this is, again, what's your flavor? What's your preference? Do you want that to be gray? Do you want that to be black? Do you want it to remain that half slab what it was? Maybe you want some more color. Maybe you want to give it a make it red, make it blue. I mean, the options are limitless, to be honest with you. And I really encourage, you know, making those leaps, because sometimes, well, not sometimes, more often than not, making those changes and trying out different things is, for me anyway, how I usually stumble upon what I ultimately end up deciding to do. Um, it's super, super helpful. Thought Voyager just needed like a little bit on top of the bridge, just to make it pop out just a little bit more. So now all I'm going to do is I'm just going to close it up in the center. It's looking pretty good. Now what you could do too, you can bring this down by a half slab. You're going to replace that with a different color. Again, a lot of ships, they have kind of like a blue hue at the very top of the bridge. That's something you could do. You want to add in some illumination lamps, I say go for it. The options are limitless in this case. What I could have done there in the middle, I could have went down a half slab just to give it a little bit more definition. But that doesn't look bad. I don't think that there's much else that we need to do to the bridge. I think it has the detail that it needs. When you look at it, I mean, that's clearly Voyager's bridge. And it's not massive. That's the biggest thing for me. That's the one thing, the one gripe I have where I see a lot of people trying to make these ships, that their progression system on top of their saucer, the way how many levels that they add, by the time you get to the bridge, you've already got your first level of not only your foundation but your building, and then you start building a skyscraper on top of it for your bridge, and you have the super pointy thing that almost looks like a dreidel. You don't need to have all those layers to convey this stuff. You really don't. So now I'm just adding in a few more lines here, and I skipped a row on the back end of Voyager. I'm just trying to get in a little bit more hull lines in there. You want to make sure to do that for the right side also. And you can see we skipped a row. Do the same thing here. We're going to keep going back and we're going to skip a row, going off of our cut. I mean, if you want to do it every row, you can. I tried it out, and to be honest with you, I didn't think it looked very good. So I ended up doing every other row. I thought that looked a little bit better. It spaced it out a little bit more, making the back end of Voyager look a little bit longer. I think that looks pretty good. To be honest with you, this is what I would prefer to do over Aztecing, to have these hull lines in the ship. I think it just my preference, as at least as far as Minecraft goes. I just feel like it looks a little bit better. Normally I ended up skipping over parts of this, but I mean, we're just going to let this ride, but the process is just going to remain the same as we go back. We're going to go every other row, or we're going to skip every other cut line. I've got one more row to do here in the back that I could do, at least I labeled it out to do it, but I might not end up doing it because it's a little bit too close to that back end line. So I could leave it as is right there. And see, that doesn't look bad. To me, when I look at that, it has structural support. That's what I see. And a lot of these lines, Voyager has them. So we're not even going outside of canon or anything like that. We're just omitting certain details and focusing on others. don't know. I don't know if that happens to you guys. Sometimes it just kind of like goes slow and doesn't build it out live with you. And it takes a second to render, and then you do it again. You have like 4 blocks there. So I'm going to do that off camera, but I spaced it out. And then once you're caught up to that, we're going to go ahead and we're going to hop into the underbelly of Voyager and start adding in a little bit more detailing. Because I think what we're missing here, I want to add in another strip of line work. And all I'm doing here, I'm using the same pattern that we have for all this line work. If you wanted to, you can come up with a different pattern, but when we zoom out and look at it, trust me, it's going to flow very, very evenly with the rest of the belly of the ship, or the back end of the ship, I mean. They just have a 3-block space in between them. This is why sometimes I don't spot this stuff out for you guys, because I mean, this is some of the stuff, it's not hard to do, and I've been there. I really have, because I think a lot of what it is that you're just afraid to make a mistake, and you know, trust yourself. That's what I'm saying. Like, if you can get to this point and you've gone on this journey with me, you've probably learned at least one thing out of this tutorial, hopefully. And if you can build Voyager out, I mean, give yourself more credit than that. You can do this. Some of the times I eye it, but a lot of times, well, let me rephrase. When I'm coming up with my initial pattern, I will eye it to get a general idea, but everything does. I try to make sure everything matches up. Oh yeah, see, that looks good. See, it has that extra bit of line work in there. It's not so plain anymore. What we could do now, you can either leave this. There's no reason to make this change if you don't want to. But I think what I'm going to end up doing here is I'm going to end up deleting some of this and just make it a little bit tighter. So everything after that last row, everything going outward, we're just going to get rid of that. You don't want to delete everything. We're going to focus on the white concrete, the gray concrete, and the half slabs. Because what's happening is I'm looking at my reference photo again, and I'm saying that, like, well, maybe I made this a little bit too wide. I'm going to try to slim it down a little bit. So that was really one of the main focuses on why I added in that extra line work. But also, I wanted to see how it'd look without changing it, which is why I did it that way. Yeah, I'm just going to go back, and you're just going to follow the line going all the way back. And I'm going to do the back end here, so you'll be able to see what this looks like. So this way you guys have the same thing. And you do that for the left side, and then also the right side. So you can see, I'm going to start the right side. Just make sure we're all on the same page. You're going to follow your line and delete all that extra. Once you've done that, you should have this, and we'll be picking up on the next step. So now we're just going to go with our cut line, and we're going to add in our illuminated blocks. I love this method when I can do it covering them up with half slabs, because it's an automatic light source that you can have, and people can't see it. and I love having that feature. I wish there were more ways to do stuff like that. I'm not even gonna start on my rant of things that I want at this point. It's the same things that it's been for like 10 years. One day, it'll happen without mods. So yeah, we're just gonna go through. We're going to add in all of our illuminating blocks going with a cut, and then we're also going to get rid of the old ones. And I want to make sure when you delete the old ones, we're not going to be using white concrete. That's that's an actual block of quartz. So we're hopping between a couple of different blocks here, between the quartz half slabs, full slabs, and then concrete blocks. It's not my preferred choice. If it were up to me, I'd have a full spectrum of half slabs, and say I can't even help myself. I have to somehow mention the things I need on here. But anyway, yeah, we're gonna go through and we're gonna delete all that, and then we'll be caught up for today's episode. Like I said, they're starting to pick up loose odds and ends. We're almost right there, caught up to where we were in the tour episode. But I think that's going to be it for today. I just want to thank you guys again for tuning in today's episode. And if you did enjoy this content, please help me out. Hit that like and subscribe button, helping me and supporting the channel. I can't thank you enough for that. And new subscribers, be sure to hit that notifications button so you can always get notified when the new videos drop. If you have any questions regarding today's episode, be sure to drop a comment below. Definitely love hearing from everybody. But I just want to thank you all again for tuning in today's episode. I hope everybody has a happy and safe week, and I'll catch you in the next episode. And of course, what did you make in Minecraft today? Post your photos in the Discord. I'll have a link in the description below.